design or improving the appearance of the buildings. As first, I would like to ask was responsible for the courtyard reconstruction or improvement project. They made some installations there. If I'm not wrong, Diana will be representing the group. So Diana Zamuraeva, Kristina Zamuraeva, and Yana Dinasta are in the group. They are quite interesting individuals with interesting experiences, but Diana is presenting herself as evangelist of Riga. So not, but it's needed for translation. So anyhow, I've come here today together with my colleagues to talk to you about the courtyard revitalization project that we implemented this summer. So what I will tell you about is why, how, and what has been done. So what is My Riga? My Riga is an urban initiative portal, mainly. And this portal is meant to explain to the inhabitants of Riga what is Riga, what's nice about Riga, so as to make people appreciate the place they live and probably discover places and things they have not noticed previously. So that's our key sort of message, to tell to you, the Rigans, what we have here, what nice things we have here in Riga, and what are the events, processes taking place in our city. At the same time, we are also conducting urban research, if I can call it that way, and this is exactly what we did this summer in scope of the revitalization project. So, My Riga. So that's the project. And what was the approach that we implemented? Well, we think that each and every Rigan is an expert in his or her own right. So we're the users of the city, so we know best what city needs, what happens here, you know, what works here, what doesn't work. And we do not base our work on urban theories or any other theories. And that, of course, has not allowed us to avoid certain errors that we have made. However, we have made conclusions from our errors. We've learned lessons from our errors, but theories would be limiting in a sense, so that's why we don't rely on theories. So this was an experiment. This was a pilot project, and it was a bit provocative, if you will. So this was a micro-intervention in a way. Micro-intervention we conducted on residential areas. And we tried to bring in innovation. So quick, cheap, and simple innovation. And I will elaborate on what I mean by that. It's probably too early for the next slide. So anyhow, our project consists of 3 neighborhood revitalization projects. So by neighborhoods, I mean Zolitud, Vecmilgrausviens, and Tornkalns, 3 neighborhoods. We went to Zolitud on Friday morning. A truck brought in our pallets, and we had a mobile toilet, everything was ready, and then the municipal police came and they said, "Good morning, people are complaining, what's happening here?" We showed them all the papers, all the permits were there, we were fully authorized by the city authorities, and everything could happen. However, it is very important to talk about the life cycle of pallets. I should say that in Zolitud we installed chairs and tables. Basically, we created a corner on Anny Boulevard, which is quite a street having vast areas on both sides where people basically take their animals for a walk, their pets for a walk, and otherwise people just pass through these areas. And on the first evening we got some tweets that it's very nice, people are going there, they are using these chairs and tables, they go there with their pets, and they sort of feel that it's a place for them, and they rearrange the furniture. However, unfortunately, 2 weeks later everything was destroyed, and we had to remove everything. The only 2 things that worked were swings, so there was even a line waiting for the swings, and then there was also a bench that we put next to a bus stop, and this bench bench. I don't know why, but according to eyewitnesses, it stood there for some time and then was removed by the Riga, the traffic company, municipal traffic company, and it was, intensely used by all people. Old ladies used it to put their bags on and so on and so forth. So this was a very useful bench there. This was all about Zolotut. Then we went to Vatsmilgravs, and we went with Vatsmilgravs with very bad feelings. We thought this was going to fail, but it turned out pretty good. We went to Vatsmilgravs 1. It is the corner of Vatsmilgravs Street, and basically there are low buildings there. And we implemented the project in former tennis courts. And by definition or by default, this was an area that the locals wanted to revitalize, and there was a community organization that wanted to revitalize. So we got all the municipal support we needed. What also helped us was that there was a daily child care center, and they also came to help us, or the children came to help us, and we installed a volleyball net there. We put some chairs and tables there, and these chairs are still there and practically undamaged. Then we went to Tordenskjold. On a nice square on the corner of Jelgava and Veje Street, together with children who helped us, we created some kind of a tree house or a playhouse for them, and they were complaining that they don't have any playgrounds around to go and play, and they are not permitted to go into the courtyards of the residential buildings, and they were very happy about this playhouse. But it survived only 2 days, and it just disappeared like it never were there. It's like, a chopper landing and lifting it, hoisting it up and relocating it. Most probably it was, turned into a firewood. My wish would be for this playhouse to be relocated to another courtyard, relocated by children, but, there's no way of finding it out where it actually ended up. The link or the common denominator for all the neighborhoods is that the swings were very successful in all 3 neighborhoods. So swings are very sort of a straightforward concept that is easy to comprehend, so it didn't fail. And in Zolotov, indeed, the only thing that has survived is swings, and in Vatsmilgravs, we had the swings, and in Tordenskjold, swings were cut off, but they were used they were quite popular previously. So what are our conclusions as a result of this project? Well, the main conclusion is that we can experiment now. So I'll count to 10 and we'll clap our hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Clap. So now let's each count to ourselves to 10 and then clap. Well, you see, by that I wanted to demonstrate how different all of us here are, because we count differently, and 10 seconds is a different time span for all of us. And we think that residential areas are different in Riga, and we can't have a uniform approach for all of them. And we were afraid of Vatsmilgravs, but it turned out beautiful. And Zolotov, where we grew up, we thought is going to be wonderful and very responsive, but they demolished everything and were, in a way hostile. So we must take each residential area individually, and we must have an individual approach to each and every residential area. We must carefully study each area before we implement anything there. So going back to conclusions. One of the key conclusions is that it is very easy and very cheap to transform environment. The pellet furniture costs you virtually nothing. You can either buy it from a shop or buy it latter piece. You just need an initiative, and you can install a bench, create a corner virtually anywhere. You just need to have a will. As to the functionality of these articles or items, you must be clear what you need. We, for example, installed the bench. I think bench might be useful, but, its place or the location must be very carefully chosen. In Zolotov, we made a mistake that we put it in the area that wasn't used, wasn't owned by anybody. Therefore, it was an alien body, an alien object, like a violation or trespassing of the area that isn't really owned by anybody, so nobody really owned these items. And in Vats-Milgravis, taking into account the proximity to the daycare center, we were lucky that they sort of took the ownership of this, and they basically followed what's happening with these items. And in Tornkons, the square was nice, but there were no residential houses around, so nobody watched it, and so these items disappeared very quickly.
Riga.
And here's where we narrow it down to a very important factor, the importance of a community. The big cleanup works because we all come together and we work commonly. If we did this alone, then most probably hundreds of pairs of eyes would simply stare out of the windows and would think, what are those weirdos doing there? When we, in turn, start doing things together, we acquire automatically legitimacy to do something. We have the critical mass in order for others to tolerate us. Another important thing is the coordination and harmonization. Clearly, if we hadn't coordinated these projects, then we wouldn't have been able to implement at least half of them. As I already mentioned, in Zolitude, the police arrived some 15 minutes after we appeared. If we hadn't had the documents executed and all of the documentation in place, we would have had to leave with all of the pallets. Basically, this is some sort of a slavery of coordination and approval. Us being an organization which acquired funding from the Riga City Council, the Department for Education and Sports, we had the funding, we had the documents, and we had all of the approvals in place. But imagine a person who simply wants to set up a sandbox for kids. Imagine how quickly would the person arrive into problems. How far can we go with such projects and objects? We will not be permitted to carry them out. Just like with the bench at the bus stop. It was very useful for the old ladies where to put their bags on and where to sit on, but it's not there any longer. Another pity is the fact that a project which has been granted funding from the City Council is questioned with the following questions. What sense does it have in it? So it is a pity that we try to do things, we attempt to carry out improvements, but at the same time, there are people who never believe and who don't see the reasons for doing anything. Now, let us turn to images. What you can see here is the Vividity project for the municipalities, and this was exactly the moment when the police arrived. We had a good laugh with them. We presented the documents and everything turned out to be fine. What you see here is Vats-Milgravis. These are the children from the daycare center who had come. And in all of the projects that we implemented, we tried to observe the needs and desires of children. That's why we did these playground improvements. This is how the furniture looks like. And in this slide, what you see is Zolitude. Another conclusion is that you can see football gate on the left-hand side. It's a wonderful idea, but it looks very easily breakable. And when something looks easily breakable, it will be broken down easily. And that was the case. It was broken in the first evening. The other items were more difficult to break down. So they were not dismantled. But then again, this item was broken down in the same evening. This is the Vats-Milgravis project with very happy kids in it. So that was shortly it about the project. On the slide, what you can see is the information related to the project and contact information in case you wish to find out something more about us or about the project. I hope that I was able to shed a light on how this project evolved and how we did. I'd have to say elegant, a very elegant approach. It would be very interesting to see what would have happened if you hadn't obtained the approvals and if the police had come. Well, apparently the police had